Hello students, in the last video we were discussing about homogeneous coordinate system. That means how to change one coordinate system to another coordinate system by using a homogeneous coordinates. Now we'll continue with the same thing. Here we are writing the change in the coordinate system as A equal to CB, where A and B are two coordinate systems in homogeneous coordinates, where C is a matrix which is used to change the coordinate system from coordinate system B to coordinate system A. Then as I said, C is a matrix which will be represented as M transpose, and the values of the matrix C are alpha 1 1 up to alpha 3 4, and the last one is with respect to the origin, which are represented as 0 0 0 and 1. Now here we are representing the matrix C with the general values, general scalar values, that is alpha 1 1, alpha 1 2, alpha 1 3, etc. Then how can we find a specific values or actual values for a matrix C? Now to solve that or to find out those values, we are considering a new matrix T, which is an inverse of C. Now to calculate C, we are considering a coordinate system which is represented by the vectors u, v and n. U, v and n are nothing but the basis vectors of a coordinate system, and the origin for the coordinate system is nothing but P. Then how can we calculate the actual values for the matrix C is? For that, to calculate the actual values for a matrix C, we need to consider all the components of a coordinate system, which are vectors u, v, n and the origin P. Then u can be calculated as u1, u2, u3, 0 in a column matrix, and its corresponding values are T into 1 0 0. Similarly, we are calculating V, that is V1 V2 V3 0 in a column matrix as 0 1 0 0 in a column matrix. N can be calculated as 0 0 1 0 in a column matrix. P, that is P1 P2 P3 1 in a column matrix, can be calculated or represented as 0 0 0 1 in a column matrix. These are the specific values which can be given for the basis vector u, v, n and the origin point P in the homogeneous coordinate system to calculate the specific values for the matrix C. When we combine all the values of u, v, n and p, then we can represent the matrix T as u, v, n, p in a row order, and its specific values are u1, v1, n1, p1 and u2, v2, n2, p2, u3, v3, n3, p3 followed by 0 0 0 1. Now from the previous representation, you know what is u1, u2, u3, that is 1 0 0. You also know v1, v2, v3, that is 0 1 0 and so on. If you substitute all those values over here, then you are able to get the specific values for a matrix T. Then in the previous slide we have written T equal to C inverse. Then what is C? C is nothing but T inverse. So C can be calculated as inverse of T, that is u, v, n, p inverse. Then for the previous matrix, that is matrix T, we need to calculate the inverse. Then we are going to get the specific values for C. This is nothing but the calculation of specific values for a matrix C to change from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. Initially, we have considered the change of coordinate system from one to another by using a matrix C. We are representing the matrix C with the general scalar value alpha 1, alpha 2, etc. Then here the problem is how to calculate the specific values for a matrix C. For that, we have considered a example coordinate system which is represented by the vectors u, v and n with the origin P. Then the values for vector u will be given as 1 0 0. Then the values for vector v will be given as 0 1 0 0. For n it is 0 0 1 0. For p it is 0 0 0 1. When we combine all this, we are able to calculate the matrix T. So T will be represented as u1, v1, n1, p1 and so on for all four rows. As you know, matrix T is nothing but C inverse. So C is nothing but T inverse. So C can be calculated as inverse of T, that is u, v, n, p inverse. So when we know all the values, that is u1, v1, n1, p1 and all other value, we can calculate the inverse of this matrix. So we are able to get the specific values for a matrix C to change the coordinate system from one to another. Now we'll move to our next topic, that is modeling a color cube. This is nothing but how we are going to display a cube with a multiple colors. As you know, cube consists of totally 6 faces. To display 6 faces, totally we need 8 vertices. So first, when we start to display a cube, we need to specify vertices of a cube. Here we are going to specify vertices of a cube as a floating values. So we are considering the data type for the vertices as GL float, and then here instead of specifying each vertex individually, we are defining the vertices as an array, and the name of the array will be vertices. How many vertices we are supposed to mention? Totally 8 vertices. So the first dimension of the array will be 8, where each vertex will contain 3 values totally, that is its x coordinate value, y coordinate value, and a z coordinate value. So the second dimension of the array will be 3. After that, we are initializing the array with totally 8 vertices, where each vertex will be having 3 values. Then after defining all 8 vertices, we are supposed to define each face of a polygon, each face of a cube. Here we are considering each face of a cube has a polygon with 4 vertices totally. So to indicate each face of a cube is a polygon, we are using GL begin function, and we are specifying the primitive in GL begin function as GL polygon. As I said, each face of a cube has 4 vertices. So under GL begin function, we need to specify 4 vertices using GL vertex 3FV function, where 3 represents we are displaying the cube in a 3-dimensional system, F represents we are specifying the vertex values as floating value, V represents we are not giving the vertices value directly as x coordinate value, y coordinate value, and z coordinate value. Instead of that, we are passing an array over here. Which is that array? It is a vertices array. Then which vertex we are passing as the first vertex? That is vertices of 0, which is the 0th vertex there, minus 1.0, minus 1.0, and minus 1.0. Similarly, we are passing totally 4 vertices, or we are specifying totally 4 vertices under GL begin function followed by GL end. This is defining one face of a cube. Similarly, you need to repeat the same code 6 times. Apart from this, you need to repeat it 5 times to define other 5 faces of a cube by changing the vertices values. This is nothing but how we are going to display a cube on a output screen. Then when you consider any face of a cube, every face of a cube will be having 2 faces individually, that is an inward face and an outward face. Inward face is the face which is towards the cube, outward face is the face which is towards the user or towards the observer. When you look at a cube, then you are able to observe only the outward face. The inward face is towards the cube, or it is inwards to a cube, so we are not able to observe that. Then whenever we consider a face of a cube, then how can I find which face of a cube is an inward face and which face is an outward face? To understand that, here to call a face of a cube as an outward face, then if the vertices are traversed in a counterclockwise order. As you know, when we display a polygon or when we display a quadrilateral, the order of giving the vertices matters. That you have observed in your first lab set program. If you are not giving the vertices in a proper order, then you are not able to observe the proper polygon or a quadrilateral. To get the proper quadrilateral or a polygon, the order of vertices what you are going to give will matter. That means you are supposed to give the correct order of vertices, so you are able to get the proper quadrilateral. If the order of vertices what you are going to give for a vertices are in the counterclockwise order, that is for example, when you observe the below diagram, if it is 0, 3, 2, 1, then in such a case we'll call such face as a outward face of a cube. This method is also known as right hand rule. That means when you specify vertices of a polygon, you will specify the vertices in a reverse order. Instead of specifying the vertices as 0, 1, 2, 3, if you specify the vertices as 0, 3, 2, 1, then such a face is known as outward face. If you specify the vertices in the proper order like 0, 1, 2, 3, then such a face is nothing but a inward face. That is how you are able to differentiate between outer face and a inner face. Then this outer face method, that is how we are going to identify outer face method, is also known as right hand rule, because if we orient the fingers of right hand in the direction of vertices how they are traversed, then always the thumb points outward. Because of that reason we'll call even this method as a right hand rule method. This is regarding how to identify inward and outward pointing faces. That is, whenever you define a polygon, if you specify the vertices in the proper order like 0, 1, 2, 3, then that particular face is nothing but inner face. If you give the vertices order in the reverse order like 0, 3, 2, 1, then such face is nothing but outer face. Then what are the data structures to represent the face of a cube? As I said in the beginning, we can consider each face of a cube as a polygon. To indicate that, we can use GL begin function, and the primitive what we are going to mention is a GL begin. When we consider this data structure, then these function need to be repeated 6 number of times to define all 6 faces of a cube. Otherwise, we can consider each face of a cube as a quadrilateral. So in a GL begin function, we can specify the primitive as GL quads. Even when we consider GL quads, here also we need to repeat the function 6 number of times to define all 6 faces of a cube. Then how to avoid the repeating of the same code or the same function again and again is, for that we can go for a data structure that is known as vector array or a vector list. Here we are going to mention the information of a cube in multiple levels, where at the first level we'll call the cube as a polygon, and then in the second level we are going to mention all the faces of a polygon. So totally there are 6 faces in a cube, so those 6 faces are represented as A, B, C, D, E and F. Then in the third level we are going to specify all the vertices of a cube. Totally we have 8 vertices in a cube, which are 0, 3, 2, 1, and for the second phase which are the vertices, and for the third phase which are the vertices, will represent all the vertices for each phase. Then at the fourth level will give the specific value for each vertex. For 0th vertex specific values are x0, y0, then specific values for vertex 3 are x3, y3 and so on. In the first level you will consider the whole object as a cube. In the second level you will specify the faces of a cube as A, B, C, D, E, F. In the third level we will specify vertices for each face, and then in the fourth level we'll give the specific values for each vertex. That is, specific value for first 0th vertex is x0, y0, for first vertex x1, y1 and so on. Then as I said, here we are going to display a colored cube. That means a cube filled with multiple colors. As you know, to display a cube, we need 8 vertices. So we have defined a array with a name vertices with the dimension 8, 3. Now to display a cube with a different colors, here we are coloring each vertex with a different color, and totally in a cube we have 8 vertices. So to color each vertex with a different color, we need totally 8 colors. So to color each vertex with a different color, we are going to define one more array that is known as colors array. Here also the data type of the array is GL float. Totally we need to define 8 colors for each vertex separately. So the first dimension of the array is 8, where each color will contain 3 values, that is its RGB values. So the second dimension of the array will be 3, and in this array we are going to initialize with 8 values, where those are 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and so on for all 8 colors. Then after that we are going to define a user defined function called quadrilateral with 4 values to define each face of a polygon. Before looking at the definition of a quadrilateral function, we'll see where this quadrilateral function is called. That quadrilateral function is called inside one more user defined function known as a color cube. Here we are going to display a cube with multiple colors. So here we are giving the function name as color cube. It is calling the quadrilateral function 6 times because we have 6 faces in a cube, where the first quadrilateral function is called with the value 0, 3, 2, 1. This indicates the vertices for the first phase, where the first phase consists of vertices 0th vertex, 3rd vertex, 2nd vertex and 1st vertex in the vertices array. In the same way, it will be called 6 times with the corresponding vertices. Now we'll consider the first function call, that is quadrilateral with 0, 3, 2, 1. Now A will get the value 0, B will get the value 3, C will get the value 2 and D will get the value 1. Here we are considering each face of a cube as a quadrilateral. To indicate that, we'll use a GL begin function with the primitive GL underscore quads. As I said, in the colored cube, we are going to specify different color for each vertex of a face. So before specifying first vertex of a quadrilateral, we need to specify what should be the color of it. To specify the color for a vertex, we are using GL color 3 of V function. Again, 3 indicates we are going to display cube in a 3-dimensional system. F indicates we are going to specify color values as float values. V indicates we are passing an array as a parameter. Which is that array? It is colors of A. As you know, value of A is 0 with respect to our example, so it is nothing but colors of 0. It means it need to take the color present at 0th index in the colors array. It is 0, 0, 0. That will be the color for the first vertex of a quadrilateral, where first vertex of the quadrilateral is vertices of A value is 0, that is vertices of 0. Vertices of 0 is nothing but vertex present at 0th index of vertices array, that is minus 1.0, minus 1.0 and 1.0. Similarly, we are defining other 3 vertices for a quadrilateral, where for each vertex we'll define its corresponding color followed by a vertex. This code will get executed 6 times because we are calling the quadrilateral function 6 times over here, and we are going to assign different color for each vertex. Then, as you know, in the previous discussion, I said in the colored cube, we are going to assign different color for each vertex of a cube. But when we display a cube, we need to observe the color in the complete face of a cube, not only at the vertices. Then by looking at the color of a vertex, how can we fill a color for the entire face of a cube? Or how can I fill the color for the points inside the face of a cube or inside the cube? So to fill color inside the cube by looking at the color of a vertex, we have a method known as bilinear interpolation. Now in a bilinear interpolation, we will represent edge of a face of a polygon in a parametric representation. Here edge of a polygon or edge of face of a cube is nothing but a line segment. We are going to represent line segment in the form of a parametric equation. Now we'll consider the first line segment of one face of a cube, that is C0 and C1. These 2 points represent, here C0 and C1 are nothing but the colors of a particular vertices. C0 is one color, C1 is one color, where this edge of a polygon will be represented in parametric representation as C01 of alpha equal to 1 minus alpha into C0 plus alpha into C1, where alpha is a scalar value. Alpha will be 0 at C0 and alpha will be 1 at C1. Similarly, we are representing one more edge of a face using parametric equation, that is C23 of alpha equal to 1 minus alpha into C2 plus alpha into C3, where alpha value will be 0 at C2 and alpha value will be 1 at C3. Then by giving some positive value for alpha, we are going to get new points on these 2 line segment. That is, when we give new value for alpha from C0, we will get a new point on this line segment C4. In the same way, when we give a new value for alpha from C2, at C2 alpha value will be 0. If you give some positive new value for alpha, we are going to get new point on the line segment C2 and C3, and we'll call that new point as C5. By joining these 2 new point, we are going to get a new line segment between C4 and C5. Then we can also write the parametric equation for even for this new line segment also has C4 5 of beta equal to 1 minus beta into C4 plus beta into C5. By using this parametric representation of a line segment for C4 and C5, will fill the color for a line segment between C4 and C5. You need to consider edges of a face of a polygon or a face of a cube over here represent those edges of a polygon in a parametric representation. By varying alpha value, we will get a new point on these line segment. By joining those new line segments, again we need to represent those new line segment as a parametric representation. Using those parametric representation, we need to fill inside the polygon with the colors of the vertices. This is known as bilinear interpolation. The detailed algorithm or detailed explanation of bilinear interpolation is not there, but you just remember to fill the color for the interior of a cube, we will go for a bilinear interpolation. In this method, we will represent each edge of a polygon or a face using a parametric representation, and by varying alpha value, we are going to find the new point on the edge of a polygon. By joining those new points, again by using the parametric representation for these new line segment, will fill the face of a polygon with the colors of corresponding vertices. Then, as I said, when we consider the face of a cube as a polygon or as a quadrilateral, then we need to repeat GL begin, GL end function and the specification of vertices multiple times, that is 6 times for 6 faces. But instead of repeating the same function multiple times, we can go for the next representation, that is known as vertex array or vertex list. That representation we have discussed with the diagram in the previous slide, that is over here. That is, the cube will be represented at multiple levels. Now we are going to look at the implementation of such vertex array representation over here. If we are going to implement the color cube as an vertex array data structure, then we are supposed to follow 3 steps totally. Among that, the first step is enable the functionality of vertex array. If you are going to use the data structure, that is vertex array, to display a colored cube, then we are supposed to follow 3 steps totally. Among that, the first step in the implementation is we need to enable the functionality of vertex arrays. As you know, in this colored cube program, totally we have 2 arrays. First one is a vertices array to specify vertices for a cube. The second array is to specify color for each vertex. So we need to enable both the arrays in the first step. To enable the arrays, we have a built-in function called GL enable client state, and which is the first array we are enabling, GL color array, and again we need to enable vertex array. So for that we are again using the same built-in function GL enable client state followed by GL vertex array. These 2 lines represent we are enabling 2 arrays totally. First array is for a color array, that is to specify color for each vertex. Second array is to specify vertices of a cube. This is the first step. Then second step is we need to tell to our OpenGL saying that where and in which format these arrays are present. So to indicate that, we need to specify where these arrays are present. To indicate where these arrays are present, we will write the declaration and definition of these 2 arrays, where we have already gone through the definition of these 2 array, where the first array is the vertices array with the dimension 8x3 and the second array is the colors array with the dimension 8x3 with the corresponding initialized values. Now we need to tell in which format those arrays are present. To specify the format for these arrays, we have a built-in function called GL vertex pointer. That means to specify the To specify in which format the vertex array is present, we have a built-in function called GL vertex pointer. It will take 4 parameters totally, where the first parameter specifies we are going to display this object, that is color cube, in a 3-dimensional system. So the first parameter says 3. That means all the vertices of a colored cube are represented in 3-dimensional system. Second one is we are going to represent all these vertices as a floating values. So the data type we have used is GL float, that is represented by second parameter. Third parameter is 0, that indicates it need to consider all the vertices values which are mentioned in an array starting from 0th index. That is the meaning of third parameter. Fourth parameter specifies the name of the array, that is name of our vertex array is vertices. This is the information we need to pass to indicate in which format the array is present. Similarly, we need to tell the format for second array also. Here the second array represents colors. So to give the format for a color array, we have a built-in function called GL color pointer. Here also it is taking 4 parameters. The first parameter specifies we are going to consider the 3 primitive colors to represent the color, that is RGB color, red, green and blue. The second parameter specifies we are representing these values in a floating value format. Then third parameter represent we need to consider all the color starting from 0th index of an array. Then the fourth parameter represents name of an array, that is color. First parameter specifies we are using totally 3 primitive colors to represent a color. Those are red, green and blue. That is the first parameter. Second parameter is we are representing each color as a floating values. Third one is we need to consider all the colors starting from 0th index in an array. Fourth one is name of the array. Then the third step is we need to render the object. Now to render the object, we need to specify which are all the vertices and the colors we need to use for a particular face. To indicate that, again we are defining one more array known as cube indices with a data type GLU byte with the dimension 24. Because there are totally 6 faces, every face will be having 4 vertices, so totally it is 24 vertices. And separately we are mentioning the vertices for each face. Totally there will be 24 vertices. Here the vertices will be repeated for each face. Then how to display each face of a cube is totally we have 6 faces. So we have written a for loop starting from 0th index till 6, and then to display a face of a polygon, we have a built-in function known as GL draw elements. In GL draw elements, we need to pass 4 parameters to display one face. The first parameter specifies what will be the primitive for a face. Here we are considering the each face of a cube has polygon, so we are passing first parameter has GL polygon. That means we have considered each face of a cube has a polygon. Second one is each polygon or each face of a cube has 4 vertices, so second parameter will be 4. Then third one is data type of these vertices. When we consider cube indices is the array which will contain the vertices for each face. So the data type where these vertex numbers are present is GL underscore unsigned byte. Then where these vertices of a polygon are present, it is present in an array known as cube indices. Each time for every polygon it need to consider only 4 values with the increment of I value. Then in the same way, if we consider each face of a cube has a quadrilateral, then we need to write GL draw elements as GL. First parameter will be GL quadrilateral, because if we consider the each face of a cube has a quadrilateral. In a previous case, we have considered each face of a cube has a polygon. If you consider each face of a cube has a quadrilateral, then the first parameter for GL draw elements will be GL quads, and the second parameter is how many vertices will be there in a quadrilateral. For that we are considering 24. Here quadrilateral is nothing but we are considering not a normal quadrilateral. Normal quadrilateral will take only 4 quads. If you pass 5 vertices, then fifth one will be discarded. If you give sixth one will be discarded. If you give 7 vertices, even 5, 6, 7 will be discarded. But if you give 8 vertices, 2 quadrilaterals will be formed. Here we are giving the number of vertices to form a quadrilateral is 24, so it will take all 24 vertices which are specified in cube indices, and it will display totally 6 quadrilaterals which will form a cube. Then the data type where these vertex numbers are present is cube indices, that is the fourth parameter. Data type for cube indices is GL underscore unsigned byte, that will be the third parameter. Now when you look at the implementation using a vertex array or vertex list, none of the function call is repeated multiple times. Here we have just used a for loop, and this function GL draw elements will get called multiple times, but here we are not repeating the same function call multiple times in a program. That is the advantage of implementing a colored cube using vertex array instead of the GL begin function with GL polygon or GL begin function with GL quads. Then next one is a affine transformations. A transformation is nothing but a function that takes a point and maps that point into another point. That is the definition of a transformation. A transformation is nothing but a function which will take a point and it will map that point or a vector to another point or a vector. Then by considering the diagram, we'll consider the initial point as P. If we apply a transformation on P, then we are going to get a new point Q. Then how can we indicate that? Q equal to T of P. That means when we apply a transformation on P, we are going to get a new point Q. This is nothing but transformation operation on points. In the same way, here we have considered a vector called U. Vector is nothing but a directed line segment. When we apply a transformation on U, we are going to get a new line segment V. Then how can we represent this? V equal to R of U. When we apply a transformation, that is R, on the vector U, then we are going to get a new vector, that is V. This is nothing but transformation operations on vectors. Then if we use homogeneous coordinate system to represent a transformation, then transformation operation can be called as a function. Then how to represent transformation function in a homogeneous coordinate system is Q equal to F of P. If we apply a function on P, we'll get a new point Q. In the same way, if we apply a function on vector U, we are going to get a new vector V. Then what is nothing but this function F? A function F is a linear function if it satisfies the below equation. That equation is F of alpha P plus beta Q equal to alpha into F of P plus beta into F of Q, where alpha and beta are scalar values, P and Q are points. If a function satisfies this equation, then we'll call that function F as a linear function. Now, if we consider the vectors to perform the transformation, transformation is nothing but changing one point to another point. In the same way, if we consider vector, the transformation on vector is nothing but changing a vector from one coordinate system to another coordinate system. We have already discussed the change of coordinate systems in the previous topics, which can be written as V equal to C into U, where C is a matrix which is able to transform from one coordinate system U to another coordinate system V. Then as I said, C is a matrix. C can be represented as scalar values alpha 1 1, alpha 1 2 up to alpha 3 4, and the last row represents the origin. Then in affine transformations, a vector will be represented as, for example, if we consider a vector has U, U can be represented as alpha 1 alpha 2 alpha 3 0 in a column matrix. Then a vector will have 12 degrees of freedom in a transformation operation. That means whenever we convert a vector from one coordinate system to another coordinate system, that means we are transforming a vector from a coordinate system U to a coordinate system V by using a matrix C. Then C contains totally 12 scalar value starting from alpha 1 1 till alpha 3 4. When we change the coordinate system of a vector from one coordinate system to another coordinate system, that is from u to v, then all these 12 scalar values will get changed. That is the reason why we'll call a vector will have 12 degrees of freedom in affine transformation. As you know, transformation is nothing but changing the coordinate system from one to another. If we change the coordinate system of a vector from one to another by using a matrix called C, C is a matrix with the scalar values, that is 12 scalar value starting from alpha 1 1 till alpha 3 4. If we perform such a transformation, then all these 12 scalar values will get changed. So we'll call the vector will have 12 degrees of freedom with respect to affine transformations. Then in affine transformation, a point can be represented as P equal to beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, 1 in a column matrix. When we change the point from one position to another position by applying a transformation function, then we can say point will have 9 degrees of freedom. Even to apply a transformation function on point, we'll use a matrix called C. In a matrix C, out of totally 12 scalar values, only 9 scalar values will get changed. So we'll say a point will have 9 degrees of freedom in affine transformations. Even affine transformation can also be applied for line segment which are of the form P of alpha equal to P naught plus alpha into D. Then when we apply affine transformation, this line segment can be represented as C into P of alpha equal to P naught plus alpha into CD, where C is a matrix which is used to perform the transformation operation. Even when we perform transformation operation on a line segment by using a matrix C, all the 12 scalar values of this matrix C will get changed. So we'll say even line segment will have 12 degrees of freedom with respect to an affine transformation. This is regarding affine transformations of points, vertices and line segments.